How's it going in Italy? Well, good morning, everyone. Uh, we're still in the flow of the beautiful Libra full moon. We had quite a little festival a few hours ago, and Tuya led that meditation with some, I think, very beautiful music and some amazing videos exemplifying balance in a way that I've never seen it. Maybe when it goes on to Makara, you'll have a chance to look this over. Quite extraordinary. And then we, many of us got to say hi to each other at the end of it. So it was the joy aspect of Libra, I think, coming through. But of course, we have a serious time these days, and choice is before us. We know regarding Libra that there is a mantra called "Let choice be made." It is not so much the spiritual mantra as just the factual mantra of life in Libra. And we find before us at this time, especially where the battle for democracy is being fought out, as it will in a number of places, I think, but especially in the United States, as the Tibetan says, we find that choice before us. And it has been, suggested by one of our, or more of our group, that we use the powerful mantra, the second great invocation. So I'm going to, I guess there it is, attempt to bring that forth. And before we begin a number of these programs, we're zeroing in, and you can make internal application of this yourself. You know what it's all about. Let the Lords of Liberation issue forth. Let them bring succor to the sons of men. Let the rider from the secret place come forth, and coming save. Come forth, O Mighty One. Let the souls of men awaken to the light, and may they stand with massed intent. Let the fiat of the Lord go forth. The end of woe has come. Come forth, O Mighty One. The hour of service of the saving force has now arrived. Let it be spread abroad, O Mighty One. Let light and love and power and death fulfill the purpose of the coming one. The will to save is here. The love to carry forth the work is widely spread abroad. The active aid of all who know the truth is also here. Come forth, O Mighty One, and blend these three. Construct a great defending wall. The rule of evil now must end. And of course, no matter what we study from the Tibetan he has said that the most important factors are the formation of the new group of world servers and the externalization of the hierarchy and the reappearance of the Christ. He emphasized these particularly in the 1940s. And I think we cannot think that this call, this mobilization, the need for it has subsided. No, it has not. There is definitely a psychological attack upon humanity at this time, seeing if a great cloud of glamour might not be thrown over humanity as it approaches the end of the era of the forerunner. It is very fortunate for us that a great defending wall has been constructed by the hierarchy. Much still comes through because it is the need and law in hierarchy that humanity must work out its own salvation, but we have powerful assistance. And as you can probably tell, so much of this is about the reappearance of the Christ, the rider from the secret place. We'll have before long a discussion, according to the Tibetan, on the meaning of this powerful will mantra. So keep it in mind, because the forces of opposition do not give up, not yet. And in one way or another, we will have them with us until the judgment day, however far ahead that may be. We have kind of an anticipation of that day of judgment, and of course, that is a Libran theme, judgment. Right now, we have the anticipation of the day of judgment, but the true day of judgment has to do with the higher and lower mental plane, and it will be yet a while before that can occur. So I want to, welcome you here. When there's really a lot of people, I can't do it, but now I can, and always grateful for Michael for keeping us on track. And good morning, Aunt Veronica, and hi, Anna and Annette, Catherine, Cindy, and Hilda, and John. Oh, long time. Okay. Johi and Karen, Leslie, Martine, Miro, Natni, Tia, Tom, and Zenaidi. Very glad to see you here. And, we're calling this a treatise on cosmic fire in depth. Obviously, this is a profound book. It's written, he tells us, on the first ray and the third ray. And he tells us really that only the initiate consciousness can understand what he's trying to convey. But okay, it can still be useful to us, just the way the rays and the initiations require a third degree group. That's very rare now. A group that has taken the transfiguration and initiation in order to receive the full benefit of what he is intending. And even though our groups are really nowhere near that kind of spiritual status, we can still, according to our level of understanding, understand. and it will be of value to us. I know it seems that we're, going quite slowly here, but as I've said before, this is not just looking at this book, but it's looking at how the Treatise on Cosmic Fire interfaces with many other things the Tibetan has written, and new ideas come into focus as we read together. So, I always feel daunted when I enter this book. I've done my best to provide a commentary on the Makara website, and part of it is a video commentary near the end, when I just lost patience and I said, no, I'm not going to write anymore, I'm just going to talk. But anyway, I feel daunted, and I know you do too. But let's realize that within our soul nature, so much of this is understood in a way that the personality mind cannot yet understand. So we will proceed. And just a little review, and then we'll get to the where we actually are. And by the way, I want to say, on the day of the full moon, such as it was yesterday, at least here in Europe, we pretty much postpone the usual programming. So I hope you didn't get caught in that postponement. I hope you were aware of it. And we did send to you a note about a change in the Libra full moon broadcast. It was, it was the pre-full moon, an hour earlier. And maybe some of you missed that. I'm sorry for that. I think Michael Stacy does a really good job of getting our weekly calendar out to everybody. So please check in on that. Now, we've been talking about the division of the fires, and we've seen the five-pointed star as our symbol here to symbolize the various fires that are available. Fire by friction, which represents the past, but still, in a way, an instrument of the present, and sometimes, often, an obstacle in the present days. And that's associated with the primordial ray, we're told, the third ray. Then comes what DK calls the divine ray, even though the word divine is often used in connection with the monad. He calls it the divine ray, and it's on the mental plane. And there's a split there on the mental plane between the higher and lower Agnishvatas. Notice that Agni will be a name that is constantly encountered, the Lord of Fire, and there are many types of Agni. So there's a split there. And what we're trying to do, I think that's pretty much the mystery of the Sphinx about what is man. We're dealing with the relationship between the higher mental plane and the lower. So it is a duality, and we are struggling with that duality now, and later we will struggle much more at the judgment day. But then he says the divine spark, which is our monadic nature, does not as yet manifest, as do the other two fires, as a duality. Now note that word, or that little sentence there, when he says, does not as yet manifest, because that is the key. Okay, let's see if I was successful here. Maybe not. I'm just trying to do a little highlighting if I can. Yeah. We will have to wait till the future cycle before there is a split in the monadic manifestation. I suppose the lower four subplanes of the monadic level and the higher three. And if we are alert, we will notice that DK actually talks a bit about what goes on the monadic plane and the different types of monads according to Ray, how they are positioned, and what are their dynamics together. But the time is not yet. In the future solar system, we are told, individualization will not take place on the mental plane. It will take place on the monadic plane. Now, what that may be, I mean, I don't know how we can determine that at this time. It is a later cycle, and evolution alone will disclose what will happen. But then there will be the six that will be a duality, and the seven-pointed star will emerge into our consciousness. He does speak of the seven-pointed star and the methods of initiation regarding it. And there are said to be 7 solar systems, but one may not be objective at all. The very last solar system may not be an objective solar system, but may take place in the eternal now and kind of be the sum of the entire process. So manifesting in a way that is not the usual manifestation, but there will be a period of summation, which the seven-pointed star indicates. Now, I've gone through this other material last time. The 5 as the number of Brahma, the 7 as the number of our present solar system, and the 9 of Shiva coming up in the next solar system, and the different kinds of symbols that pertain to those solar systems. Now, whether emanations like you and like me at this present time will be present in that solar system, I would say not as human beings, but by that time, definitely, we should have achieved the status of a solar angel, just the way those from certain members of the previous solar system have achieved the status of the solar angels that supervise us now. So it's a great future, and the bulk of humanity, that's what that word, which is not a very precise word, bulk, will go to the star, or sometimes it's called the constellation Sirius, to be trained as solar angels, and they may come back maybe in the next solar system, and perhaps tend the up-and-coming forms of evolution that they have transcended. But there are other methods as well, and it depends on what path on the way of higher evolution one actually takes. Now, lately I've been asked some questions from people who are very immersed in the simple Christian dogma, which has its pluses and its minuses, but of course, we understand that the mentality that goes into understanding the truth is more demanding than many people wish to engage with. they like the description of reality to be simple, and that's good. Simplicity governs the way into Shambhala, we are constantly told. But for those of us who study the ageless wisdom, there is a much greater complexity of relations revealed through the faculty of pure reason, both the pure reason of the abstract mind and the pure reason, a higher type of intuition. And it will be, I think, a struggle to bring forward that will to know in greater depth than now we know. Those who have tried to do that have often been persecuted because it's threatening to those who embrace a simple thought form and think that this is the very end of truth. And that happens quite particularly in the Abrahamic religions, but I think also it will occur in the increasing dogmatism of Buddhism, which the Tibetan warned us about. He said, as we progress, Buddhism will become more dogmatic, and some of the old religions will prove to be unsatisfactory to the really questing spirit, the one who wants to know. So we number ourselves, when we study cosmic fire, among the ones who want to know and are willing to pay the price of concentrated thought. That's not all there is to the ageless wisdom. We have to be practical too, but we can dig into the reality of things. Now, we're on page, still on page 44. We're not making a lot of progress that way. And I mentioned the seventh solar system, but that's a very occult matter, at least we know. And it's still very far ahead that we are heading into a system in which our planet will play a very important role. There are reincarnations of our planet. And the thing for all of us to keep in mind is, what is the function of our particular Earth scheme? Excuse me. What is the function of our Earth scheme within the solar system? And there's no doubt about it. He gives us an analogy, and basically it is the base of the spine. There are other planets that have kind of association: Mars, Mercury, Saturn, even Uranus, Pluto. They all have connections with the base of the spine, but that's telling us a bit more about their connection with our Earth. This is a very intense planet with a first ray monad. Now, that's found in esoteric astrology. We have a first ray monad on this planet. Now, it's occultly non-active at the moment. I mean, there are hints of it, and the masters certainly know about it, but there's only one other planet with a confirmed first ray monad, and that confirmation goes to Uranus. Now, so, it's coming to me, these thoughts, that the base of the spine, Earth, with its first ray monad, and the crown center, Uranus, with its first ray monad, define the extremes, and between those extremes, all of our development takes place. Sometimes it has been said that the base of the spine represents will, and the highest head center represents purpose. Uranus, purpose, and our little earth, still non-sacred, still occultly non-effective in its first ray, represents will. So, if we sometimes think we're really being put through the ringer, if we are in a very disciplined situation and an exacting and demanding and pressureful situation on our planet, it is because of the association with the base of the spine and the divine will. DK goes on to say that this third fire, the fire of the spirit, he calls it cosmic. It's so interesting. The third ray, primordial ray; the second ray, divine ray; the first ray, cosmic ray, he calls it. So in these appellations, in these names, much that is useful to our understanding is conveyed. This third fire, along with the other two, make the necessary 5 of logoic evolutionary development, and by its perfected merging, this fire of spirit, that when we are building the Antikarana, we are attempting a little bit to reach, by its perfected merging with the other two fires as the evolutionary process proceeds, is seen the goal of the logoic attainment for this greater cycle or period of this solar system. That's an important point. And there, we human beings, we know that we might achieve something quite high, or we might not quite make it and have to defer our development until a future incarnation. Well, the Solar Logos knows that too. It is scheduled or possible that a very high degree of attainment, that we'll come to that in a minute, is possible in this 5th Mahamanvantara, and we also can call it a second major solar system. Under the spell or influence of the divine ray, it is possible to take the 5th cosmic initiation. And it is also possible that that will not happen, and that the taking of that great initiation, which probably renders our Solar Logos sacred in some cosmic way that the Logos is not yet found, the taking of that will depend very much on what we do on the earth. Because if analogy holds good, we look to the human being and say, what is the major chakra involved in our 5th initiation? And we discover that it is the base of the spine. And that, on a solar systemic level, takes us right back to the Earth scheme as the base of the spine center in the Solar Logos. Okay, so this greater cycle is called a Mahakalpa. It's called an occult century, it's called a Mahamanvantara. This can be a kind of mastership, in a way, for our Solar Logos. Now, we have to realize that we do not yet live in a sacred solar system. Whatever kind of system Sirius is, it is sacred. And when we're talking about some of the great stars, whatever their system may be, they are the central points in sacred solar systems. So, the whole idea is to grasp the importance of the law of analogy, of the law of correspondences. That's the law of analogy in greater detail. And realize that what we don't know about these larger systems can be hinted at by what we do know about Earth, and vice versa. What we don't know about Earth can be learned by the hints DK gives about the larger systems. We just have to know how exactly we should, or with what degree of exactitude we should apply the law of analogy, because obviously if you push an analogy too far, it no longer is valid. So we're interested in the divine plan for the solar system. It means that Earth must become a sacred planet, and that we who are the constituents of the Earth have to live in such a way to fulfill our function to the great solar logos, who is a heart center, a great heart center in our cosmic logos, called the one about whom naught may be said, or at least the first of the ones about whom. There's so many ones about whom naught may be said, meaning every entity that is beyond our understanding. But even the 7 solar systems, of which ours is one, is to us kind of a one about whom naught may be said. And usually the term applies to the supercosmic logos, and I've shown you, on page 344 of Cosmic Fire, there's the chart, and it's just a little triangle. It looks to me like one of the 49 ones about whom naught may be said. Well, the further we go, the less we know. Oh, that has to turn around at some point, of course. While 5 is the number of Brahma, and basically when you look at the atomic plane on down, atomic, buddhic, monastic, astral, and etheric physical, you have the 5 planes of Brahma, and maybe 5 planes were the principal developmental planes of the previous solar system. But there's more to the number 5. The number 5 is also the number of the second ray, in the sense that second ray cycles are multiples of 5. We have 50, 500, or we have 5, 50, 500, 5,000, 50,000, 500,000. Those are all cycles which imply the presence of the second ray. And when you think about our solar angels, they are great hearts of fiery love. Yes, they are. But they are also found actively projecting their essence or part of their faculty onto the 5th plane, especially the higher mental plane. So the numbers 2 and 5, very Venusian numbers, are related also to the solar angels that have this association with Venus. As a matter of fact, in your astrological chart, if you want to learn something about how your solar angel may be working, may be communicating, may be radiating in your personality life, you check out the position of Venus and its sign and its house. He does tell us that there are certain planets that we should really attend to. And Venus, being the alter ego or the great exemplar for our Earth scheme, Venus is one of those planets. Now, that doesn't mean if you take a horoscope of the non-aspiring person and you check out Venus, it's going to indicate the solar angel, only remotely, because Venus has lower meanings too, depending on the development of the form. But for people like ourselves who have engaged with the Tibetan and know the doctrine of the solar angels and are meditating in such a way that we try to communicate with the angel of the presence and be guided by the angel of the presence, then yes, Venus can have that higher meaning. Okay, and here's a quotation from Esoteric Psychology 1, because you know you really do have to search throughout the books. And this is my plug. You know, if you don't have the Alice Bailey CD-ROM, which they're now quite inexpensive. I think I saw something like $50 or euros or something like that. I can't be exact, but well, it doesn't. Any other method of studying the books, especially in extension and in depth, I think it pales compared to the study with the CD-ROM. So I hope you'll do yourselves a favor if you really want to get into what the Tibetan is saying, and make sure you have that. And you can write to headquarters there in New York or in London or in Geneva, depending on your location, and they can provide the method whereby you can receive that. Okay, so the cycles of the second ray are dynamic and recur in a regular rhythm at this time and during the 25,000 years of a zodiacal cycle in sequences of 500 years. Now that's a loaded statement. What is 25,000 years? It is the rounded off period of what we call a great Platonic year. Maybe it's something like 25,000 and more, almost 26, depending on how we count a lesser zodiacal age, usually 2,160 years, but with overlaps and so forth, we can think of that age as 25,000 years, the greater zodiacal age, and we do call it a Platonic year. And with it seems that there is a retrogression during the Platonic years. We have just concluded a great Platonic year of 25,000 years, Earth years, in Pisces, or we are concluding it. DK says that our science cannot quite give us, the true timing of these things, but we're going to begin a great Platonic year in Aquarius very shortly, even as we are beginning a lesser equinoctial cycle in Aquarius of some 2,160 years, or if you want to stretch it conventionally, 2,500 years, a double Aquarius. So certainly it is a tremendous time for transition, and during these great cycles that we call Platonic years, the second ray is manifesting in relation to the number 5. Now, I guess, that's interesting. Whew. Sometimes thoughts come to you, and maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but sometimes, interesting Notice that if we take 25,000 and we consider 500-year dynamic second ray cycles, we reached the number 50. Now, 50, in other words, it looks like about 50 second ray cycles in the conventionalized 25,000 years. And the number 50, the number 5, has a tremendous connection with the star Sirius. So, some people consider Sirius to be the very crown of the head in our 7 solar systems. Others consider it to be the Agna center. It's one or the other. And the number 5 brings us right here to the brow center. Unless we want to distinguish Agna from brow, there are people who do that too. So anyway, the number 5 becomes very important. When you go to Sirius to be trained as a solar angel, you're being trained in Manus. You're being trained according to the 5th ray soul of the star Sirius. It is also a cosmic Christ, which implicates the second ray. There are a number of cosmic Christs, of course. It depends on their scope, okay? Our individual Christ is the great human example reflecting the cosmic prototypes of what it means to have the Christ energy, the intermediary energy, the energy, the binding magnetic energy between spirit and matter. So that's quite interesting, that these second ray cycles, of course, they can occur in 5,000-year periods too, but the 500-year periods, there are 50 of them in a great Platonic age. And I suppose each one will bring in an intensification of the second ray in some manner. So I guess my point, and the point I hope for you to take away from this, is that the numbers 2 and 5 are very closely related. They have everything to do with Sirius, which is probably ultimately a second ray monad, and a 5th ray soul with a 6th ray submonad. It's the dog, it's the loyal dog, compared to Orion. 2 and 5 are connected with the solar angel. 5 is the cyclic number for the second ray. And whatever dynamic means, maybe, I remember the Tibetans saying, well, when you compare hierarchy with Shambhala, Shambhala has this peace and this archetypal consistency to it, whereas the hierarchy is a very center of dynamic force, outgoing, incoming, active. And so that makes sense too, to call the ray connected with hierarchy dynamic. And look, we don't know these cycles. I think Stephen Pugh has done a lot of good work on cycles. He's taken from the books a lot of material and even taken it further, but none of us is focused on the 3rd sub-level of the atmic plane, where all knowledge is found, at least all knowledge of our planet and maybe quite a bit of our solar system. And it's at that level, which is a level of mastership for the human being, where we really learn about cycles. So we're on our way to doing that. And what's interesting too is that the sign Aquarius, which is going to be coming in with such emphasis, is the sign in which knowledge of cycles is perfected. Maybe we can even see it in how the sine wave, the double sine wave goes in Aquarius, the ups and the downs in regular rhythm. Well, so much lies ahead for us. It's just a very good idea to know what is possible for the human being, and then to spread that possibility to others in a way that they can absorb. Even as DK couldn't possibly tell us everything he knows, he's given us, we consider it difficult to a degree, he's given us information that we can possibly assimilate. And we have to speak proportionately as well to the people perhaps who are ripe to understand some of these things. Okay, and that all goes back to psychology number one. He's putting in this very powerful cosmological statement in psychology one. So you never know where you're going to find that relevant piece of information. You just don't know. It can be in the most unlikely places in the teaching. Okay, and then it says, let's see if I get this straight. Then in a dual synthesis, they will pass on to the third system, that in which the power aspect is developed, and the head centers will be complete. So even though we have a very complex head center, which it has many parts, and it basically masters the lower centers, it's not complete yet. What the story is, if we go back to Psychology 1, is that our solar logos has deliberately decided to deflect the first ray energy from entering in overabundance into our particular solar system. That logos, our logos, is working on consciousness, it's working on love, wisdom, and it can only safely allow so much of the first ray into the system and still accomplish what it is intending to do regarding the second ray. We all know what can happen, let's say planetarily, with our Shambhala energy when there's not enough second ray. And people get overly eager, and they, oftentimes with a first ray personality, they think they have a first ray monad or something like that. But if they let in too much of the first ray prematurely, without the second ray functioning properly, they're in for trouble. And we are all in for trouble, and that is the blending of the first ray and the third ray without the love and the wisdom. Now, interestingly, this book is written, he tells us, on the first ray and the third ray. So I want to go back here just a tiny bit. Okay. Yeah, we're talking about the attainment of the logos and the different lives that are contained within him. Then in a dual synthesis, and why is that? Well, we have both the primordial ray developed, third ray. We have the divine ray developed. They have come together just the way they must come together on Earth, a second ray soul and a third ray personality. And the two great rays in the solar system, three from the last expression, ray 2 now, a dual synthesis. That synthesis of energy will pass into the third system. And power will not just be indicated, it will be developed. Now, note the following. This achieved, our logos has triumphed and measured up to the 6th cosmic initiation, just as he should measure up in this system to the 4th. Okay, well, this is about the initiatory goal of the solar logos. Sometimes it seems that he has the potential to take the 5th initiation, in which case our Earth would be extremely involved, and sometimes only the 4th initiation. And still the base of the spine center is coming in powerfully, but it would be indicate that still in the solar system there is much in the nature of the suffering of the heart that goes along with the 4th initiation. Now these are huge matters, you know, they're way beyond us, and they're probably far beyond in total understanding our own masters, who are simply masters on a non-sacred planet, the Earth. But when the power aspect is developed in the next solar system, it will mean the 6th cosmic initiation. Now, that's interesting, isn't it? Because the 6th plane is the monadic plane, okay? So if I was going to turn to, what was I going to turn to? I'm going to turn to this map, and I'll try to make this map visible. Notice that it's always number 6 that implies the monad. The liberated monad is number 7. But here we have our monadic plane, and the 7 subtypes of monads are here. And the number 6 planes from below, is involved. And this is correlating with the 6th initiation, just the way it will cosmically correlate with the 6th initiation for our solar logos. And who knows what's going on up here? I mean, this is a monadic source in a super cosmic system, and it's all coming out of this little green triangle. I think green would be a proper color because the Pleiades are very much involved here, and for us, and our one about whom not may be said, I think the Pleiades, that cluster, represent the great head center. So monad 6, 6th initiation. This is what we have to keep in mind. Now let's see where we are. Okay, but a little earlier we read that it is possible for the well, I think we read it. Maybe I'm somewhere we read it. Maybe it's coming up. But the idea is the possibility of taking the measuring up to the 5th initiation. Which would it be? Even for a solar logos, there is a question of progress. And Master Hilarion, is it this little book, DK calls it a militant little treatise. Is it called, Light on the Path or something like that? I want to say The Light of the Soul, but I think it's Light on the Path, taken down by a certain Mabel Collins. It's a very militant sort of first ray, sixth ray book. He says that even on a very high level, you can fall back. And there are failures that are systemic, not just human, systemic and even cosmic failures. So the possibility of not reaching the goal is there for all kinds of beings, including, really, whoa, I don't want that to happen. That would mean that I had a runaway horse here. Yeah, okay. You know, every once in a while, my computer runs away and I can't catch it and it erases everything. So trying to avoid that from happening. All right, a little bit more, you know, obviously we are working very associatively. We're not just taking page by page, we're taking page by page in terms of its ramifications. So the thing for you to have in mind is that some references cite the fourth initiation as the goal, cosmically, for our solar system and its logos, and some cite the possibility of the fifth initiation. Now, actually, I'm calling attention to a couple of things here. If we carefully study certain words in the section above, we shall realize that the word take and measure up are not necessarily the same. Now, can you think of that in terms of your own initiation? The initiate is initiate before he is initiated. That's what DK tells us. We measure up to it. Now, here's an example. The Buddha on the moon chain measured up to the third initiation, but it wasn't being offered at the time that he had qualified himself to take it, and so he didn't take it until the next chain, which was our earth chain. Then he and the Christ took together the third initiation in the fourth ray ashram, but the Buddha had measured up. So here's the question. I would think that not only would the solar logos measure up to the fourth initiation in this solar system, but given what is said later and in various places, I would say he must take it as well in this particular major solar system. Okay. I hope that is clear. Just a few things about number. The 5 is related to the human third initiation with its symbol of the 5-pointed star. Now, it is the 5th ray, particularly, which is prominent at the third initiation of transfiguration. And because the 5th ray is the most luminous of the rays, there is associated with the transfiguration that brilliance and glorification which the Christ demonstrated before the disciples that he took with him to measure or to participate in this event in the desert. And they were so overcome by the light that they, fell down on the ground and hid their faces. But it was a glorification, and it involved the 5th ray. So always remember, a lot of things to remember, aren't there? Always remember that the most luminous soul types are the 2nd ray types, and the most luminous ray lord is the 5th ray lord. So when we come to this 5-pointed star that we've been talking about quite a bit, a human being who becomes a master is also symbolized by the 5-pointed star. And you recognize Leonardo's drawing there from man the cross to man the 5-pointed star. And that's exactly what we're talking about here on a solar logoic level. Do we remain on that cross in this solar system, or do we go to solar systemic mastership in this solar system? And then, of course, the next or the sixth solar system brings us to the sixth initiation. It's the third major solar system and the sixth actual in a series of 6 or 7. Okay, so we may have to distinguish between measuring up and taking an initiation. And now, DK tells us that a lot of times people do measure up and are qualified to take an initiation, but the astrological circumstances are not there at the time. And there is a certain kind of astrology that is needed to take certain initiations. So they have to defer it, just the way the Buddha deferred it, and just the way any one of us, even if we measure up, if the astrological energies are not going to be rightly configured, we have to defer the initiation. And here is a statement, and I think this may be as far as I go today. Well, I'll read a couple of things, but won't get into it too much. When the primordial ray of intelligent activity, the divine ray of intelligent love, and the third cosmic ray of intelligent will meet, blend, and merge, and blaze forth,
Sorry, everyone. Michael must have lost his internet connection. Please be patient.
And I see, I'd like to, there we go. I hope you can see clearly. Now, we may have to put these two things together. And I'm hoping that it will be possible to preserve what we had before. I'm hoping it is the case, because right now, what was said may be no longer said.
Oh, I just paused the recording and just restarted it, so it's good.
It's good? Okay, all right. Okay, well, thank you, Michael. And anyway, I just had a little more to go. When the primordial ray of intelligent activity, the divine ray of intelligent love, and the third cosmic ray of intelligent will, notice that all comes from Agni because it's intelligent, it's fiery. When they will meet, blend, and merge, and blaze forth, and that's when my computer went, the Logos will take his fifth initiation, thus completing one of his cycles. Will it be the next solar system? Will it be this one? We don't know. Now, I just have a couple of more things to read without going into them too much. The third fire, along with the other two, make the necessary 5 of logoic development, and by its perfected merging with the other 2 fires, as this evolutionary process proceeds, is seen the goal of logoic attainment for this greater cycle or period of this solar system, the second major. Now, here is the major contradiction. We are in, and this is from Cosmic Fire, page 605, and we'll talk about it later, not now. The fifth Mahamanvantara, or solar system. We're in it right now, okay? The solar logos achieves his fifth major initiation. And that is possible right now in this, when I say right now, okay. It is possible in this solar system that the solar logos achieves his first major initiation, fifth major initiation. Okay, friends, that's as far as I'm going to go. There's a lot of material here, and we're just going, slowly, but we're getting the idea of what our process is at the moment. And Michael, can you tell me, has my voice been sufficiently loud? I realized I was quite low in the microphone. Have you been able to hear?
Yes, your volume has been very well at my point, yes.
Okay, I just raised it. Maybe there's no way to raise it or lower it. I don't know. But anyway, this is the end of this program. Really, our electronics is not perfected yet, is it? I just don't know what happened. I didn't touch anything, and it just suddenly told me I was no longer in the program. So I'm glad you paused the recording. And basically, this is where we are. Okay. So this is the 2nd of October. And we're still on page, well, right at page 44, 45. And I'm not sure what program this is. Is this the 32nd program, Michael?
This is the 33rd now.
Okay, the one I'm starting will be the 33rd, or what we've got going is
What
the
we
33rd.
have going is the 33rd.
Okay, okay. I'm just cranking it out. I'm not sure about the numbering. And so we'll begin on October the 9th, and the program will be 34, apparently. Well, it'll all get straightened out when we put it on Makara, 34th. Okay. I think, and it will be an evening program. All right. Whoa, okay, well, not exactly the smooth finish that I had hoped for, but I think we get the idea that just the way we have a life purpose, so does our globe have a life purpose, so does our chain have a life purpose, so does our entire planetary scheme. And now we've been dealing with a larger configuration, which is our solar system altogether. And we could go beyond it, but we don't even know really the destiny of our solar system except to develop the three aspects of divinity and to develop them in the eternal now. And I'll say something contradictory, that sometime in the future we have to discuss the eternal now. We'll probably do that to a degree when we deal with identification as being. Okay, now I hope everything is clear, and it'll be the opportunity for you to offer your thoughts, your questions, whatever you might like to say, if you would like to say or write anything.
Michael?
Yeah.
Anne Veronica has written, in esoteric healing, we balance pairs of chakras. One pair is the base center with the head center.
Yeah.
So we must have a special relationship with Uranus.
We do have we do, Anne Veronica. We have mythologically this relationship with Uranus, and think of it, they both have the same monadic rays. In other words, our planetary scheme with its first ray monad and Uranus with its first ray monad are the only two given so far. Actually, they are given. They're hinted and given that have that first ray monad. So indeed, they are at the extremes, we might say, both for the individual human being, I'm sorry, for the individual human being and for the solar system. If you turn to page 420 or 421 of Esoteric Psychology 1, you'll see that it tells us that the esoteric ray of Uranus is ray 1. That's just like the word home. It means monad. And then in esoteric astrology, later in the 600s, I don't want to go looking for it right now, but it gives us the three rays of our planetary scheme, and they are third ray personality, second ray soul, and first ray monad. So there is quite a connection there between the two, representing will and purpose. Okay. Do we have anything else?
No other hands raised or things written in the chat box. We did talk a bit about cycles, and you mentioned Stephen Pugh, which I haven't been able to find his website for a couple of years now.
He's there. He's definitely there, and he's given a lot more thought to ray cycles than a lot of people, so I don't know if I can find out how to get to his website. I'll let you know, but I think we should be able to find it, somehow.
But the cycles are quite intricate, or they can be, from our limited understanding, be quite intricate. It's also perhaps important to go back to, just a second.
Go back to, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's in Treatise on Cosmic Fire, early in the book, page 7. Number 7, knowledge of the cycles involves knowledge of number, sound, and color. And number 8, full knowledge of the mystery of the cycles is the possession only of the perfected adept.
Yeah. All knowledge and the atmic plane and the third sublevel of the atmic plane and mastership confers a great knowledge of cycles as they relate to the earth. Now, obviously, not all cycles. And DK sometimes talks about the way these cycles pile up on each other and how you're going along in a certain way according to a certain energy, and suddenly energy from a different cycle breaks in, and you have to take that into account. So, there's complexity in it, but we have to start with how many Earth years are involved in the different cycles. The ones that I know about or have been given is that the number 1 has to do with first ray cycles, 1, 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, so forth. The number 7 is the same, 7, 70, 700, 7,000, 70,000, etc. The second ray cycle operates with the multiples of 5, and especially, when we add zeros to 5, 550, 500, we just saw that reference to 500 in a 25,000 year cycle. There would be 50 of them, 5,000. Matter of fact, if I can show you a very interesting page in, I'm going to have to, make that, I'll do my best here. Not correct. And let's see. It's in a treatise on cosmic fire, so we're sticking to the correct book at least. And oh goodness. Well, let's see if I can. 5,000. Okay. Okay, now let's see if I can find it. Well, anyway, I don't think he doesn't give it in, maybe he doesn't give it in numbers, or maybe he does. I just have to see whether I can find it, but here we go. Here we go. All right, now I'm going to try to show this to you on page 1039 of the Cosmic Fire book. All right, here we go. Okay, do you see page 1039 there?
Yes, we do.
Okay, okay. This whole paragraph is about cycles. Okay, when students learn to blend the 100-year cycles of the first type of energy with the equally powerful impulses from the second ray and the third, we shall then have a cessation of many controversies. No great impulse will come from the lodge along the line of the first ray of will or power till the close of a century. Now, that is an interesting statement, and but there's more ahead. One such impulse along another line of force came when the discovery of the nature of the atom was arrived at through the study of electricity and of radioactive substances, and an impulse from the second aspect is imminent. So he's probably talking about a fifth ray impulse, but he's not giving the cyclic. Now, Stephen Pugh has speculated on that. Apart from the cyclic impulses continuously going forth, overlapping and superseding and intermingling with each other, there are many which we might call lesser impulses, and the cycle of 100 years to which HPB refers is but one of the lesser impulses. Now, note this. There is a 1,000-year cycle of great moment. That's first ray. There are vaster cycles of 2,500 years. That Stephen speculates that that will be the fourth ray. Of 7,000 years, that will be the seventh ray. Of 9,000 years, that will be the third ray. Of 15,000 years, that will be the sixth ray. Because DK in Esoteric Psychology 1 tells you about 150-year periods. All you have to do is add zeros and you get the larger cycles, and many others, which only advanced initiates know or can follow. Now that means a master. These can, now this is what I was saying before, these can break in upon any of the lesser cycles and can be seen appearing unexpectedly as far as the average man's knowledge is concerned, and yet they are but the returning impulses set in cyclic motion, perhaps thousands of years ago. So that is the reference that I wanted us to particularly understand, that it is possible to have a sudden breaking in of certain cycles which are all out of character with what has been happening. And only the master is really going to know that and be able to deal with it. So there's a lot of complexity, and probably you can only imagine the kind of graphs that we would use, to show the piling up of cycles of a different nature at the same vertical time. So you'd go along here and you'd find the time, and then the different cycles over the years, they would come together, perhaps having real power at the same time and perhaps entering unexpectedly. Okay.
And then I recall a reference, I can't say where it occurred, but as there are subrays of the personality and so forth,
Yeah.
there are cyclic subrays of a major cyclic ray. For instance, if the ray 2 cycle was occurring, then each of the other 7 rays will be cycling through, although not necessarily all in order.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, maybe one example of that has to do with our age of Aquarius, let's say. Right now, we have a lesser age of Aquarius beginning. And we usually say, oh, Aquarius, 7th ray. But no, the 7th ray cycle is from another type of cycle than the Aquarian cycle, and it is presently accompanying the Aquarian cycle. The 6th ray could also accompany it, the 5th, and all the rest of them as apparently kind of sub-cycles of the Aquarian energy. And somewhere he says this is the 7th time, maybe in the Aryan age, that the 7th ray cycle has accompanied the age of Aquarius, So also the lesser cycles, for instance, if we have a 9 and we have a 90, the 9 is a lesser cycle within the 90. The 90 is a lesser cycle within the 900, and so it goes. And at one point, he adds those up, showing how to reach 90 plus 1, which gives us a 10. There are all kinds of calculations that the masters know of, that we're just beginning to know of a little bit, which indicate what sub-cycle of a major cycle we're in. I'll give you another example. There is a 40,000 or maybe a 44,000 year 4th ray cycle. And we are in some kind of 6th sub-cycle of that 40 or 41,000 years. So we're in a 6th ray sub-cycle of a great 4th ray cycle. I'd like to be able to find that, but I don't want to go hunting for it. Maybe you'll just have to kind of take my word for it and then, go looking. But I will do this.
Well, I have a reference perhaps
Yeah.
in Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1, at the bottom of page 189.
Okay. Let's see. I have to keep on moving things around here. Esoteric Psychology, Volume 1.
Volume 1 at the bottom of page 189.
Okay, let's see what we've got here. And unfortunately, something is blocking. Okay, right before 190? Right before 190?
Correct.
Okay, okay, yes, right, right, right. Okay, so let's see if we can find that here. And this should be it, yeah. Before we proceed further, I want to touch upon the apparent contradictions which occur and which may continue to occur in this treatise. Sometimes a ray will be spoken of as being in manifestation. At other times, it may be referred to as being out of manifestation. When we speak about its influence upon a particular kingdom of nature, and then again, still another ray may be regarded as of prime importance. Did I read that correctly? And then again, still another ray may be regarded as of prime importance. These discrepancies are only apparent, and their cause lies hid in the right understanding of the law of cycles. Yeah. Okay, we have to understand this law of periodicity. Slowly we are, and we've been given enough, I would say, in terms of the numbers associated with the different rays. Now, I didn't get a chance to say that the speculation regarding 35 or 3.5 is given by Stephen for the fifth ray. 2.5, I think you can gather, or 25 for the fourth ray, and DK seems to hint very strongly 1.5, 15, 150, and so forth, even up to 15,000 years for the sixth ray. The others have a bunch of zeros after them, and only the fourth ray, the fifth ray, and the sixth ray, interestingly enough, the rays of Sagittarius have the 5 in them instead of just a figure with zeros. So we're learning, and it will come. Yep.
If you keep reading this paragraph, it gets into some very interesting information.
Yeah, I'm afraid. Well, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Shall we do that, or
You seem to have lost the page.
Yeah, I'll find it. I will find it. Yes, this is the one I was talking about. 21,000 years and 40,000 years. Right. I have some kind of blank spot at the bottom of my screen, which is causing me some difficulty. But until this basic law of periodicity is comprehended, and this will not be possible until man has succeeded in developing fourth dimensional vision, it will not be easy to avoid what may look like contradictions. At one time, a certain ray may be an incarnation and of paramount influence, and yet, at the same time, still another ray may govern the major cycle, a cycle of which the ray under consideration may be only a temporary aspect. And this is the one I was talking about. So, for instance, the seventh ray of ceremonial organization is now coming in, and the sixth ray of devotion is going out. Yet, this sixth ray is in a major cycle, and its influence will not disappear until for another 21,000 years. At the same time, this sixth ray might well be regarded as the sixth subray of the fourth ray of harmony through conflict, which has been in manifestation for several thousand years and will remain operative for another 40,000, yet at the same time, this fourth ray is out of manifestation as regards its minor and cyclic influence. Yeah, okay, so you found that, Michael, which was what I was looking for. Okay, well, is there anybody that is daring to come in, or maybe that's it for today?
Everyone is overwhelmed, perhaps. There's nothing more written in the chat box and no hands raised at this at this particular moment?
Sometimes I think this is the chat box, you know, point to your head. I think it's the chat. Look, DK has given us a lot of pieces. He's given us hints about how things fit together. He's given us many pieces of the jigsaw puzzle, but not all. And we have to fill in kind of algebraically what may be missing. So I'll try to make a point that we must read what we read with a sensitivity to what may be hints which are given to us, which are not spelled out as hints. Sometimes he says, I'm giving you a hint, okay? Okay, that's good. Other times we realize that what is written is a hint, and he hasn't said that it is. And it will point to a missing piece of information. And if we're very sensitive to the wholeness of what is given, that piece of information may appear based upon the incomplete material he has given, but enough for us to intuit or reason about what is missing. So basically I try to summarize this and I say, read with a sensitivity to hints. Okay. All right, friends, so that will be it for the moment. We're going to do the great invocation together. And hopefully, Michael, as far as you know, where I had that exit, the recording was still going. Is that correct?
Yes, the recording was still going. I just paused it for that brief time that you went off screen.
Yeah.
Nasa says that she's overwhelmed and humbled.
Well, I think that's probably for all of us when it comes to the depth that DK has given us. I think that's I think that's the right response. But obviously, whatever the masters have done, we can do too, and in time. And the Christ has said, greater things shall you do than I do now. So, and he had that tremendous foresight and saw the day when we would be able to understand far more deeply and execute useful spiritual esoteric action in a very effective way. So when you read Cosmic Fire, there's only one response. Let's read it again. Let's read it again. And especially to study topically. The cross is like this. Study horizontally and just read the book. Study topically and get the vertical axis. Both are required. And when you run into something in your horizontal reading that seems to demand further exploration, you summon similar references under that topic and you establish a vertical axis. And then we have the cross, which we can synthesize with the fifth pyramidal point, the high point. And yet DK says this is just the ABCs of the ageless wisdom, just the ABCs. Okay. Oh, Vera. Okay. Yes, Michael, can we get Vera on here, or are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, Vera, go ahead, please.
Yeah, it took me a long time to find how to raise hand.
Okay.
I'm usually quite pessimistic person and thinking, oh, life on earth is full of pain and suffering. But for some reason, during your presentation today, I suddenly felt like, yeah, it would be interesting to experience what will happen much later on Earth or in the third solar cycle. And then I realized, no, I will be witnessing it, but probably from another angle as a solar angel. So it's just, it's like, life is difficult, but it's also, it's beautiful. And it was for the first time this happened. So it was wonderful.
Well, that's so good. And yeah, let's just say that when we study here, it's filled with what I would call promise, the promise of an ever more interesting and engaging and beautiful life in our universe. And of course, it will be discovered, well, this is another angle, but we are an ongoing participant in this universal life. And not only that, we are the actor itself. So all the different things that appear to be going on, happening to other people, other kingdoms, the other will eventually be shown to be the same experiencer. And that's what we have to look forward to. I love the promise of the ageless wisdom rather than, the promise of some kind of heaven, all your wishes will be fulfilled forever and all that. I think we need to grow up when it comes to universal possibilities and take a more mature and more intellectually sound approach to our possibilities rather than just fulfill our wishes. Yes, I'm going to be happy forever, in heaven. Yes, I think our degree of bliss and happiness is going to increase tremendously as we go. That beautiful thing from the old commentary about how the morning stars sang together and so forth. And, the marriage song of the heavenly man and all of that. Yes, great promise lies ahead. And if we have that kind of attitude, that kind of confidence, vision, and the ability to convey that to other people who possibly could begin to understand a little of it, then the character of our whole life, I think, would change, and the joy of the soul would come to humanity instead of all of the struggles, but they are on their way to the joy. But we have to fulfill these possibilities that are before us at the moment.
And we need courage, which goes with the monad.
The age of the heart, right? Courage, right?
Yeah.
Which is a way of saying soul age, It's a way of saying we are an experienced soul. Well, what are we? I mean, right now, we're just a little human being, microscopic man, but we have differing soul ages, meaning the time we've been in manifestation learning.
Yeah.
And, that's what has to be conveyed to people so they will really strive forward towards their development instead of just passively waiting to be happy forever,
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vera. Okay, that's it then, I believe. Yeah. And let's have the great invocation. And yeah, there's some strange pattern in whoa, that's not going to do. All right. From the point of light within the mind of God.
Michael.
Yes, I know. Let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. from the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. And from the center which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Well, thank you, everyone, and we'll continue tomorrow. I think it's evening program with the Destiny of the Nations, Soul of Nations, and then on Sunday, the Attracting Financial Resources for the Work of the Hierarchy, with a general spiritual work. And we're in the Libran. Let's see, Michael, I think Tuya still has Sacred Pentagram.
Yes, she does.
Okay, and that is
7 p.m. GMT.
okay. That's tonight, and the next day too, I suppose.
Yes, that's correct.
And so now Michael prepares these weekly calendars for us, and it keeps us straight. So some of you are missing the information that has been sent to you. Please pay attention to those weekly calendars, because it will help us be all together in the same place at the same time when we need to be. So lots of love, many blessings from all of us on the communications team here, and we will proceed tonight. There will be I think is Glamour, correct?
The Glamour webinar tonight at 5 p.m. GMT, then the Sacred Pentagram at 7 p.m. GMT, using the same Zoom link that has been used for the other Libra full moon events.
Okay, but not the Glamour. The Glamour will be
the
different,
Glamour
right?
is on GoToWebinar.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, and we'll be working at the dissipation of the glamour of manipulation. We'll stick on that for a while, because this choice in a third race sign, Libra, is imminent, and we want to make sure that the shenanigans, as it were, are controlled, so that the will of the people, first in the United States and then really across the world, the will of the people will be heard and will be acted upon. Okay, so I'll sign us off of this, and Michael will end the program. So many blessings, and we'll see you now. Bye-bye.